Okay, so now we have question 6. It says in the diagram below, the graphs of f of x is equals to negative x squared plus 4x plus 5 and g, a straight line are drawn. Then we have coordinates here, which are 3:8 at C, so which is a point of intersection between graph f and g. And then EH is drawn parallel to the y-axis with E a point on F and H a point on G, right? Then 6.1 says calculate the coordinates of B, which are the turning point of F. Now, obviously, this is a classic question. We know that if we want to calculate the coordinates of the turning point, given that we have to apply the axis of symmetry formula. So we start by getting the axis of symmetry using x is equals to negative b over 2a. Now we know that our value of b is that one. So we have negative and then put the value of b. Our value of a is the coefficient of x squared. So this is 2 to the exponent of negative 1. 2 bracket negative 1. So that's a negative 4 divided by negative 2, which will give us 2. But after we've got the axis of symmetry, we know this is the x coordinate of point B. So, right, it's 2. So that means now we have to find the y coordinate by taking this 2 and substituting it back into the original equation. So where there's x, now we're going to put the 2. So that's 2 to the exponent of 2 plus 4 multiplied by 2 and then plus 5. Now, if you punch all of that into your calculator, what will you get? So you'll get 9, right? So that means your coordinates of B are actually 2:9, right? So you get yourself 3 marks like that. Okay, nice one. So for the method of x, that equation, and then you have your x coordinate 2, and then you have your y coordinate right there. So, right, 3 marks like that. Now show that the equation of the line through A and C is given by g of x is equals to 2x plus 2, right? So, okay, so we are supposed to find the equation of the straight line AC here. So we already have the coordinates of C. That means we would have to find the coordinates of A. But then now we understand that A is actually an x-intercept. So in order to find the x-intercept, we have to make y 0. But on which equation? Remember, we don't have the equation of a straight line, so we have no other choice but to use the equation of the parabola there, right? So this is how we're going to go about it for our 6.2. We have our f of x is equals to negative x squared plus 4x and then plus 5. Remember, with the x-intercept, you make your y 0 or your f of x equal to 0. Then you want to put 0 here. We have negative x squared plus 4x and then plus 5. Now, what do? Divide throughout by negative 1. So this is going to be x squared minus 4x minus 5 equal to 0. 0 divided by negative 1 is still 0. Then at this point, what do? We can factorize here. Factors of 5, we know it's only 1 and 5. So let's put 1 here, let's put 5 there. But then based on this, we know that the one that should have a negative is the bigger one, right? Because it's the sign of the middle term. So negative here and then positive is equals to 0. So our x is either equal to negative 1 or our x is equals to 5. Now, based off of this, we can tell that the D is the one that is supposed to have 5, positive 5. And then A, because it's here on the negative x-axis, it is the one that should have negative 1. So we want to go with this one now. So we want to go with that one. And then we say, therefore, our coordinates of A are actually negative 1 is to what? 0, right? But then remember, we are not done. The main objective here is to find the equation of AC. So we wanted to find the coordinates of A so that we can calculate the gradient of AC. So to calculate gradient of AC now, I'm going to say y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, right? Then we have what? 8 minus 0 over 3 minus negative 1, which if we punch all of that into our calculator, we get our gradient is equals to 2, right? So to then complete the equation, we are going to say This is y minus y1 is equals to m, x minus x1. So we have our y. Let's use the coordinates of a, minus 0. And then gradient is 2. And then we have x. This is negative 1 here. So negative and negative will be plus 1 here. And then we have y is equals to 2x plus 2. There we go. That's our equation now. So what I did is multiply inside by the 2. So 2 multiplied by x, 2x, 2 multiplied by 1 is 2. Okay. So just like that, you have earned yourself 3 marks, right? So it was just 1 mark to find the coordinates of A, and then the other 2 mark was distributed into the gradient, and then also having to find that equation. So substituting the point of A or C to find the equation. So right. Okay, then we have 6.3. It says calculate the maximum length of EH for F is above G, right? So this means where F is above G. As we can see here, this is the graph of F. Let's highlight it in red. So that's where point E is. So at that point, we can see that the graph of F is actually above the graph of G, which is what they're saying there, right? So at this point. So we are supposed to calculate the maximum length, for which if we can put point E above point H, we will have the maximum length possible, right? So this is where we need to apply the concepts of calculus, right? Then what we are going to say is, if we are to express this, if we wanted to find EH, we understand that we would take, remember, for the vertical distance, I've taught that you must say y at the top minus y at the bottom, right? So we do understand that if you were to calculate EH here, you would have to say y at the top minus y at the bottom. But the y at the top is represented by the equation of f of x. And then the y at the bottom is actually represented by the equation g of x. Hope it makes sense. Remember, f of x is still the same as y. And then g of x is still the same as y. So it's like I'm taking the y coordinate of E and then minus the y coordinate of H. That will give me the distance between the two. So, okay, but then now, let me write that in terms of the expression. F of x is negative x squared plus 4x plus 5. I'm writing this because I don't actually have the actual values here. If I had actual values, I would just take the value here minus by the value here. But since I don't have values, I now need to represent that in terms of x, right? So that's minus bracket 2x plus 2. Remember, we have now calculated the equation of g of x. Now this is going to be negative x squared plus 4x minus 2x and then plus 5 minus 2, which is going to give me negative x squared and then plus 2x and then 5 minus 2. This will give me 3. So this is EH in terms of what? In terms of x. But then we do know in calculus, once they speak about maximum or minimum, that's where now we have to show the derivative, right? So remember, the maximum or the minimum points can be found when you do the first derivative. So that's where we apply that. So we want to say EH prime x. So this is going to give me negative 2x and then plus what? Plus 2. Now remember, when we derive, we should equate to 0 because again, the maximum length or the minimum length in cubic functions actually represents the stationary points. And at the stationary point, we usually say the gradient there is 0. So remember, derivative means it's the gradient formula. So what is the gradient at maximum points or minimum points? The gradient at maximum points or minimum points is actually 0. Hence, we always equate by 0 if we want to find the maximum or the minimum. So 0 is equals to negative 2x and then plus 2. Now we can take the negative 2x over to this side. We have positive 2x divided by equal to 2. Then we're going to divide both sides by 2. Now our x is equals to 1. So what does this x is equals to 1 represent? It represents the position whereby you would need to put your E and H so that you find the maximum length possible. So that means where they've put E and H, the X coordinate has to be 1. But have we found the maximum length? No. We have just found the position where the maximum length will occur. So if we want to find the maximum length, what do we then do now? We must then come over here and say our length for EH is represented by that equation, right? So that means where there is X, now let me put that 1. So this is 1 square plus 2 multiplied by 1, then plus 3. Now if I substitute that, that means the value that I'm going to get represents the maximum length of EH that can be formed at the position where X is equals to 1. So when I punch that into my calculator, I get 4. So that means the maximum length possible would be 4 units. I hope that makes sense. So it would be a mark for having to find the difference there, right? So, and then, so being able to say that f of x minus g of x represents EH, then after you have found that standard form equation, it's another mark. And then finding your x value, it's a mark. Then finding the length, it's also another mark. So 4 marks like that. Okay, then given k of x is equals to fx plus m is equals to negative x cubed minus 2mx minus m squared plus 4x plus 4m plus 5. Determine the value of m such that g is a tangent to k. Such that g is a tangent to k, right? Now, if g is a tangent to k, it would mean that at that point, they will intersect. Remember, if you have to draw a tangent anywhere, right? You have to draw. So this is saying k is actually formed by shifting the graph of f m units to the left plus m, right? M units to the left. So that means if I were to draw a tangent anywhere else, right, it would have to touch with that graph. So meaning that I would have to use the concept of point of intersection, whereby I would have to equate the equation of g to this equation of k of x here, right? So, okay, first thing. So there will be a point of intersection between k of x and g of x. So that means I must have what? K of x is equals to what? G of x, right? But we do know that k of x is actually this, right? So, which is that whole expression. So I'm going to have negative x square minus 2mx minus m square plus 4x plus 4m plus 5 is equals to what? The equation of g of x is what? 2x plus 2. Then I'm going to have negative x squared minus 2mx and then minus m squared plus 4x. Then let me take this over, minus 2x and then plus 4m plus 5, and then let me take this over, minus 2 is equals to 0. Right. Then from here on, I'm going to have my equation as negative x squared minus 2mx minus m squared. This here will give me plus 2x and then plus 4m. Then 5 minus 2 will give me 3 is equals to 0. Okay, so at this point, what do we do? If I just divide throughout by negative 1, so that I keep this one as a positive, this will be positive x squared plus 2mx plus m squared minus 2x minus 4m, and then minus 3 is equals to 0, right? So at this point now, what do I then do? I can just group this, right? So let me group this. So with this one, I can see that, okay, we have a common factor of m, right? We have a common factor of m. And then let's see. So all of these ones, no common factor between them. Okay. So let's say we have x squared and then plus so common factor of m, but then this and that has a common factor of x. So if we follow ax squared plus bx plus c, so I want to get it into this format. What can I do? What can I do? Okay, let me just take this one. Let's follow, guys. I'm going to take this and that. So just allow me to swap these ones. So I have negative 2x, and then I have plus m squared here, so that I deal with this common factor of x here. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to say I actually have 2m minus 2, and then factor out this x, right? Then whatever that's left here is m squared minus 4m, and then minus 3. So I'm just going to take all of this as c. So follow, this here will be one thing. There will be another thing, coefficient of x, and then all of this would be c. So what is the coefficient of x squared here? That means my a is equals to 1. What is my coefficient of x? That means my b here is 2m minus 3. What is the constant? The constant would have to be everything that does not include c. Everything that does not include, that does not include x. Everything that does not include x is the value of c. Okay. So, okay, now I want to use the nature of roots. We know that the graph and the intercept will only, the graph and the tangent will only intercept once. If it intercepts one, it means it has one root. One root. Now, according to our discriminant, if we have one root, that means our discriminant should be equal to 0. Discriminant, remember, is b squared minus 4ac. So my b squared minus 4ac should be equated to 0 because there is only one root. One root. So, okay, that means this is what I'm going to do. Yeah, so this was a crazy 5 marks, guys. Hey. Crazy 5 marks. So this is what I'm going to do. Going to say this is a b squared minus 4ac equal to 0. Then where there is b, so let me just erase here. I hope we have noted down. One of the craziest question last year was this one. Then we have our b squared minus 4ac is equals to 0. So you do these ones if you are looking for your 90%, 100%. Then this is 2m minus 2 square minus 4. Your a value is 1. Your c value, remember, it's that m squared minus 4m and then minus 3. Now, remember to equate that to 0. Right, so we must do the math for all of this. So that will give us 4m squared minus 8m and then plus 4. And then here we're going to have what? Negative 4m squared. And then negative 4 times negative 4, that's 16m. Then negative 4 times negative 3, that's 12, is equals to 0. Now, what happens is that this must cancel out with that. And then now we have other like terms, negative 8 plus 16m. So negative 8 plus 16m would have to give us positive 8m. Then 4 plus 12 would have to give us 16. And then equal to 0, we have 8m is equals to negative 16. Divide both sides by 8. Then our m is supposed to be equal to what? Negative 2. Damn. That's how you were supposed to solve that one. Right. Yeah. So that was a crazy 5 marks. That was a crazy 5 marks. So you got a mark for equating, you got a mark for simplification of the equation. So equating means equating it to 0 because you understand that you are looking for where the discriminant or equating number one, equating would mean equating the graph of f and the equation of f or the equation of k of x here and the equation of g of x. That's a mark. And then having to simplify that up until the point whereby we had this. That's another mark, right? And then from there on, equating that expression as a discriminant here to 0 because you understand that there will only be one root. That's the third mark, right? So here, this is the second mark. This is the third mark. And then, so here, equating, fourth mark, and then your answer is the fifth mark. Okay, nice one. Crazy. Let's proceed to the next question.